Hello and welcome to a Pneuma conversation, a raw, authentic, unfiltered conversation with spiritual teachers, leaders, coaches, healers, and seekers. Get to know who we truly are beyond the polished world of interviews, social media, and podcasts. We are human. We struggle too. Join us in real conversations to heal, transform, inspire. These are the conversations that remind us what it means to be alive. Today, we are in conversation with Chrystal Smallwood. Chrystal, thank you for for joining us in conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You know, our lives have paralleled off and on since high school in
They
one
have,
crazy way or another,
yep,
but we never really became close friends or good friends, but it's just kind of been there and it's all okay, but it's just
yep,
interesting sometimes how lives come together, isn't it?
it sure is. Yep.
And I'm
Just
sure
the right
you.
timing and the right path. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and some may know that was friends with your husband before the two of you even married, and he and his best friend and I were best friends, and there's a whole circle here.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we also had the same church history professor, Dr. McCormick. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yep.
So
Lives get weaved together and it's a beautiful thing.
they do. So one of the reasons I wanted to have a conversation with you because as you know, I absolutely love one of my favorite states is the state you are from, which is Maine. It is so gorgeous. It is so breathtaking. I have only spent one summer there when I was in high school over 30 years ago, but it left such an imprint on me and I wanted you here. I wanted to have that tone, that vibration, because the Maine is, well, it's such a beautiful state. It is
It
so
is.
gorgeous. So
It is.
tell us, where in Maine are you actually from, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah. So I'm from a little paper mill town on a river, on the Androscoggin River called Livermore Falls.
Yes.
And if anybody is familiar, I usually start out with a question: have you ever been to Maine? Because that gives me a location about where to send people. Um, It's if you hit Portland and you go about an hour to 15 minutes north, closer to the side of New Hampshire than the coast. My little paper mill town is there.
It's
I
gorgeous.
grew up.
All,
Yep.
all I remember though is that it took a long time from Pennsylvania
Yeah. Yep.
but it was worth the drive. It
It
was
is
worth
worth the drive.
it was
Yep.
worth the drive. So what was your childhood like? I mean, you are in ministry, you're an ordained minister. Um, Especially in our generation, that did not happen a lot. It was just starting to kind of take its peak and work its way up when you and I were going to college. But what was it like to be probably surrounded by a lot of other men that are being called to ministry and the church you and I grew up in, that wasn't supported quite yet so much. It was just beginning. But what was that like for you?
Oh, well, let me answer that in two parts.
Yeah.
First, growing up in Maine itself, I realized was healing. It was fresh. It was
Mm.
renewing on a regular daily basis.
It was your church already
It
before you
was
even had language for it.
made. Yes, that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more I realize what a blessing the actual land of Maine has been to me.
Mm. Yeah.
And it continues to be, and probably a little bit more so, as I'm cognizant of that. Um, so the land itself was just this glorious um, outpouring and message from God on a regular basis. It was
Mm.
connectedness. Um, it was a friend. It was just the place where I found security and love and guidance. And it just the land of Maine just was and still is. The Church of Maine, where the church that I grew up in, is still a church that is close to my heart. It's
Mhm.
my family. It's who raised me and who has in large part supported me. But you're right that a teenage girl at the age of 12 called to ministry, and let me see, in 1988.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I I don't really know that anybody thought that that was actually going to happen.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a little bit rambunctious as a kid. Um, Kind of, if I get something in my head, that's probably what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, and so I didn't, and in some ways, I still don't feel wholly supported by
Mm.
a lot of people in the evangelical world who still believe that perhaps women have a place and it's probably not behind the pulpit. Um, but that has never stopped me from doing anything before. So, I believed that I was called to ministry, and so that's the path that I followed,
Yeah.
because I believe that God had called that, and that's what made the difference. So, I don't have a specific call to pulpit ministry. I've never
Yeah.
felt called to be a senior pastor. I've never felt specifically called to lead a church. I feel called to the work of the church.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I've been having, as you know, I've been having more conversations with people like that, and I got more coming up where we have felt called to ministry, but not necessarily pulpit ministry or
Mm,
ordained ministry. But how do we filter that out? Because that's, especially if you grew up in the church, that's only the language we know. That's the
yeah,
only direction, sometimes the only direction we know, unless someone comes into our lives that says, "Oh, here's another door for you."
yeah.
So. So yeah, anything else you want to say about Maine? I just love Maine.
Oh, Maine. When my kids were growing up, we'd take vacations a couple weeks at a time, and I'd maybe spend 3 or 4 weeks there with my family.
Yeah,
And the older I get, the nest is empty. A lot of my time is mine, and I just
yes,
think I need to go home. I just need to go home. So I was there maybe 3 weeks ago and hung out with my mom and hung out with the
yeah,
ocean, and uh, yeah, just Maine is just healer.
it
I
is.
think in every way. If we choose to see it, it's healer.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and every time you post your pictures, I get so jealous. Oh, she's back. Oh my.
Yes.
She just didn't bring any Moxie home with her. So
I will never bring Moxie home
you
on my,
can't. It
no,
belongs in there's where I'm living right now, there's a nostalgic store with candy and sweets and stuff, and they actually sell Moxie, but I just can't bring myself to do it because I have to, it's just one of those things. I have to drink it in Maine. I can't drink it anywhere else. But yeah, when I
well,
think of Maine, I think of Moxie. So you know what I mean.
there is a Moxie following that is unhinged. They have their
I've
own
seen it,
fair, they
yes.
have their own t-shirts. It just is a cult following, and I am a proud non-member of that cult.
Ah,
I
I forgot
I
that.
I
Yes.
am not a Moxie fan, but there's a place near us about 20 minutes from our home now that
Yeah.
actually makes the original Moxie
Oh,
with sugar, not corn syrup. So if you and Jeremy
okay.
ever want to get together
Yeah.
and drink the real
The
Moxie,
real
not
Moxie.
for Maine, but you're
Yeah.
welcome.
That's
Um,
beautiful. Oh
I'm
my.
not a Moxie fan, but I appreciate people that are.
Yes. Yeah. It's synonymous with Maine. Do you
It
know do you know the history of Moxie by chance? Really, really quick. I'm just
All I know is that it started, I believe, in Lisbon Falls, which is about an hour from where I grew up.
okay.
And it's still where
Okay.
they have the Moxie Festival and
Oh, all
all the
right.
things. But it started out as medicinal, all the herbs and
Okay.
stuff. The
Yes. That's
doctors would
yes.
prescribe it for stomach ailment.
It tastes medicinal in some ways too.
It's
So
pretty terrible, actually.
it is.
Really. I tell Jeremy it's right from Satan's kitchen. It
And
is
that-
not. I am not dissing the Moxie people, but it is not for me.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because normally I would not like that flavor, but yet for some reason, I think it was just the right timing,
Yeah.
the right environment, all of that, you know.
Yep. It's a
Yeah,
cool vibe. It
it is.
is.
It
Yeah.
is. Oh my. So yeah, let's go back to your calling. At
Yeah.
12 years old, I felt mine at 5. Um, and I know you've heard those stories too. So a young age is not uncommon as you're growing up in the church. But so if you could talk more about that, 12-year-old. You're even starting puberty at that point. And so you're trying to figure out your calling, trying to figure out what's going on in your life and your body, and like, and yet you're not finding the support probably that you're seeing your male peers getting as they say, "Oh yeah, I want to be a pastor or I want to go to ministry." So
Mhm.
what was your experience like?
Yeah, so my calling was very much a burning bush, Moses kind of
Mm,
calling.
okay.
And I was in northern Maine, like even more obscure than the town that I grew up in.
Okay.
My dad was from there,
Mm,
so we had family and stuff. And I was reading the book, The Cross and the Switchblade, by
mm,
David Wilkerson, who was an upstate New York small church preacher and felt a call specifically to go to New York City, and do some good urban ministry.
mm,
Um, and I was reading that on my cousin's bed, and I clearly heard the voice of God say, "This is what I want for you to do."
mm,
And
mm.
in my mind said, "Well, that's kind of crazy. I'm from rural Maine, a small town girl. That doesn't make any sense to me." But I I just knew.
Mhm.
I just knew that that
Yeah.
was not from my own self, because that didn't make
Yeah.
any sense. And so that's the path that I pursued. It's what I have clung to since then. And callings can change, and nuances about callings can change.
Yeah.
Um, but that really has never left me.
Mhm.
So I pursued a degree in sociology and youth ministry in college, only because I didn't know that you could do anything else. And, I only knew youth ministry was a thing. I didn't know children's
Okay.
ministry was a thing, urban ministry. I just didn't know.
Mhm.
So I pursued that in college, and in Boston, did a lot of homeless shelter ministry and
Okay.
street preaching, street evangelism, feeding people kind of thing, just those good, what we now call compassionate works, justice
Mhm.
works. Um, so that's the path that I followed. And
Mhm.
I did that after college for a couple of years. And then the path kind of started to veer just a little bit. Life started happening. Adulthood started happening, and it veered a little bit to some large church children's ministry um, venues, and but now, oddly enough, I fresh out of college, I ran an urban children's ministry center, compassionate ministry center, that we call it in our denomination. And I ran that. We did summer programs and after school programs, and um, so I did that for a couple of years. And during that time, we had a team of college students come in, and we took them a couple hours north of Philly to this little town called Ashland, and to this little ministry called HelpNet Ministries.
Mhm.
And the whole time I was thinking, who lives here? Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. Um, and they were doing compassionate works. They were running a thrift store. They were feeding people. They were connecting with the community. And we had a seminar there for the weekend. And we went to this little amusement park called Knoebels in
Oh, yeah.
Elynsburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And then we went back home, and I
Mm.
kept doing the ministry, and we lived down there, a suburb of Philly. And so here I am, after all the curves of the nuances of life happened. God brought us back to that little town of Ashland,
Mm.
to that
Mm.
little ministry of HelpNet Ministries, and now I'm the executive director of that. And that memory has never left me.
Wow.
That my first introduction to the place that I'm at now, which is in so many ways very urban and very rural. It's this
Yes.
really cool mix that is really unexplainable. Um, but it works. It really works. So yeah, so I'm the executive director of that, and doing some good compassionate work through there.
Wow.
Um, I
That's
think,
beautiful.
yeah, I think at least back in the 80s, maybe it's still there. The churches that you and I grew up in, and the messages that you and I heard, where that ministry was saving people, salvation,
Yes.
soul wise, get you into heaven wise. And you had to wear suits and dresses to church, and
Yeah.
no makeup, no jewelry, no tattoos. Like the place
Yep.
was behind the pulpit, and that's what church was. And you attended when the doors were open.
Yep.
Um, I can fit in that world, and I have tried to fit in that world, but man, that is not who I am.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so the outer edges of the church, maybe. I think God dwells there outside of the four walls. That in some places we don't expect God to dwell.
Isn't that what Jesus did?
He
He
just
didn't minister in the temple.
he didn't. He
He went to
didn't.
the people.
He didn't, and he did. Yes, you're right. He went.
Wherever they were, that's where he went.
Yes, and I love that. So, if that means that I take groceries to somebody in their home, that's fine. If they come to me, that's fine. Whatever that looks like. I've really, in the last year, um, that calling has been open because I've been stuck in the expectations,
Mm,
even self-imposed expectations of, and the awkwardness and the uncomfortability of not exactly feeling like you fit in.
mm.
Um, and I've wrestled with that for a long time. And in the last year, I had this really cool, probably too long for this moment, experience. It was truly like an Old Testament Elijah on the mountain moment.
Please go ahead. Don't worry about the time. Go for it.
Um, so let me come back to that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but within that, I realized that my greater call is to compassion. And it's not necessarily specifically a venue of compassion, but it's to live a life
Mm,
of compassion.
beautiful.
And I think that the church too often spends so much time trying to save people's souls that we forget to save them from the hell that they're already living in.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
it's really important, if we're going, I'm of Christian faith. I follow Jesus. And I think if we're going to hope that people will also follow Jesus, then we need to live like him. And you're right. What he went to people. And so that's my example. It should be all of our examples. And what did he do? He touched people that nobody else would touch.
They
And
also came to him.
they did. They came to him.
He was like the center. And that's
But
what you're modeling.
that's what I aim for.
Yeah.
I don't know if I hit the mark all the time, but
He didn't either.
well, that's true.
And
Woo!
it's all okay. It's all holy.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
they did that because they trusted him, because
Yes.
he knew that they loved him. So, um, Mother Ann Lee is the founder of the Shaker religion.
Yep.
And Shakers are, cousins kind of with the Quakers.
Yep.
Um, and so I spent some time there a year ago while I was on sabbatical, and had this really cool Elijah on the mountaintop experience.
Mm.
But Mother Ann Lee says, make space for every soul.
Mm.
And I have really taken that to heart. I have that taped, where I can visibly see it, every day, all day, so that when I tend to get too busy and task oriented, that thought pops into my mind of, you need to make space for that person.
Mm.
And it's a gift that I have received, and it's a gift that I need to get back. And I think when we open that door to just engaging with people and holding space for people, that's when trust is built, and when compassion is exchanged from me to them and them to me. And so I've really learned that compassion is the greater call, rather than specifically, one specific direction.
That is so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
so perfect because it's not about holding space based on your doctrine and your theology and conforming people to that and then accepting them. You're
Right.
just accepting them exactly the way Christ did.
That's the goal.
Period. You
That's
know.
my hope.
Again, another reason that you're here in conversation because this is what we need more of. And we need to know, people need to know, especially in the ministry that you do, that they are safe,
Oh, for sure. That's the most important thing.
that they are loved
Yep.
just for who they are.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing. That's so beautiful. Awesome. So, oh, I mean, I could go so many different directions with this next.
Well, do you want me to tell my story?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
please, please, please.
So 25 years of ministry, whether that has been full-time volunteer, whatever, it's been ordained ministry. And it was time for Chrystal to take a sabbatical.
Yes.
And so I took a 10-week sabbatical last fall. It wasn't 10 full weeks because um, I still had to work. I had to work through the week. So,
And
um,
you went to Maine.
and I went to Maine. So the weekends, Friday night to Tuesday morning, I was on sabbatical.
Mhm.
Whether that was silent retreat or it was just visiting another church, if it was taken off in my kayak for the day, whatever that might have been.
Mhm.
But 10 of those days I spent in Maine at a little cabin that a friend had gifted me. And man, there's just nothing better than September on a lake in a
Yes.
cottage that's free in Maine for
Right.
10 days. So
Oh
so
yeah.
I did that, and I ended up at the Sabbath Day Lake Shaker Village.
Okay.
Completely, it was a divine appointment. I had no
Mhm.
intention. I didn't know it existed before I was there this week. Um, and so I ended up there and had a conversation with a lady who's another retired minister. We had a good conversation, and one thing led to another, and I ended up um, with the Shaker, Brother Arnold, and the director of Sabbath Day Lake, Michael, and they invited me to go feed sheep,
Mm.
and that it doesn't
Okay.
sound like a big deal to anybody,
Right.
but I later learned that they just don't do that. And so there's this divine something that was happening on their invitation to go feed sheep with them. And as soon as I walked into the barn, I thought, well, this is going to be cute, like 8 sheep. And they opened the door. There were about 70 bleeding sheep just looking at us. And God sent to my voice, He said, you need to go feed my sheep too.
Wow.
Um, and so we went, and I don't know, I probably spent an hour and a half in the bottom side of this 200-year-old barn that's just story. It's just filled with story and the hand marks of shakers from 200 and 250 years ago who
Wow.
built this farm. And I said, okay, this is cool. I can do this. Um, and so all leading up, like, sabbatical is a good time to think and reflect and figure out who you are and where you're going. Um, and and so that whole week I've been trying really hard to find a word that resonated with me, that I felt comfortable with, that kind of described me, and I came up with a word wanderer,
Mm.
and
Okay.
I feel like it's true. I'm kind of a wanderer, um, and so this little tiny sheep came up to me who is just if you can picture the cutest sheep that you've ever possibly seen in the whole world, and then it's cuter, it's this one. It was
Okay.
a little teddy. He had a little teddy bear looking face, with curly hair all over, and he just walked up to me and we just stayed together. And I held
Wow.
his face and I talked to him and I rubbed his head, and it was just this incredible moment. And so Brother Arnold came up to me and he said, that one's named Wanderer. And I thought, oh,
No
you've got to
way.
be kidding. Because I felt this connection to this little sheep who was also called Wanderer, and he started to describe him, and he's named that because he just does his own thing. He lives his life, and he doesn't, like, he connects and then he doesn't connect, and then he kind of filters in and out, but he just kind of does his own thing. And I thought, man, if that doesn't describe me, like, this little sheep and we are two souls who get each other in a way that maybe not other people do. Um,
So at that point, you were not Crystal and Wanderer. You became one. You had what I would call an existential experience with
oh,
another living presence.
absolutely. This whole thing was this existential experience,
Mhm.
and to connect with another created life,
Mhm.
another little breathing heart, beating heart, in this way is something that I've never let go of. I've never forgotten that. So that happened. Wanderer went his own way, and it was time for us to go. Um, and then I ended up in the furthest part of the barn, just exploring like the history of this barn and
Mm.
learning and coming up out of that. It was time to go up the stairs and out of that to the enclosure. We were on the very edge of the farm. There was not another sound, not another person, not another being near us. And coming up out of these stairs, I felt this overwhelming presence of God. And we got to the top, and the guy that I was with said, "Do you feel something here? This
Mm.
like there's something happening." And I said, "There is something happening." And it was so powerful that it like I couldn't speak for however long I was there. I mean, it was this wild God experience that I've never had before. Similar, but never, I mean, like this was just over the top. And so within that, I could see in front of me God's huge, wild earth of Maine that was just beckoning for connection. And it was beckoning with a reminder of who I am and who God is, and that I am loved as I am. And that God is this love that supersedes, it supersedes the definitions I think that we have defined God as, and who is worthy of his love and who is not. um
Mm.
and and so it like I don't even know how long I was there, 2 hours, 3 hours, but I came away from there going, something happened, this is huge. And I feel this this relief of existence almost, that who I am is enough, who I
Mm.
am is good, and God made me who I am, and
Mm.
that's enough because it just is. And so I yeah, I have. There's not a day that has gone by since a year ago that I've not thought about that afternoon. It was divinely appointed, wild kind of ways, but I know that it was a meeting from God, and it was God orchestrated, and I am changed because of that moment.
Absolutely. These are the stories I want to record.
Yeah,
These are
they're
the
important.
stories. They are. These are the stories we need to hear
Yeah,
because we all have them when we become open
yeah,
to just receiving.
yeah, yeah. You're
Oh,
right.
so beautiful. So beautiful. I had no idea oh, I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
didn't know, you're not the first guest I've had on that I didn't know why you're here, but now I know.
cool.
But I always trust it, no matter what.
Yeah,
And this what a beautiful moment. This is oh, thank you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
So you're executor of HelpNet Ministries,
Hmm.
executive director. Your husband Jeremy is also ordained in ministry. He's a pastoral minister. And not only do you do HelpNet ministry, but you also your self-portrait is behind you. You're also an artist of sorts. Can you talk about your ministry and how you and Jeremy maneuver all that with both of you being in ministry in some sort of way? Does it clash? Do you make it work? Or how do you make it work? It's got to be a beautiful story because you're still together, obviously. You're making it work somehow.
We are. Well, yes to all the above. Yes, we clash and we make it work.
Yep.
and
And it's all holy.
and yeah, it's a big beautiful mess sometimes. Not I say that tongue in cheek, but um yeah, it just is all the things. And uh I am undoing the expectation of what ministry has to look like.
Oh, please share that. Yeah.
um, the expectation of the man behind the pulpit and
Oh,
and the submissive pastor's wife.
yes.
um, I can tell you that that is not who I am. I
Absolutely.
I,
Nor should you be.
I nor should anybody be
Well,
really.
there's that too. Yes.
No, I
Yes.
I don't
Absolutely.
I don't
Yes.
know that that's necessarily biblical. We interpret it that way sometimes,
Right.
that that's accurately biblical.
Yeah.
um yeah, so learning to embrace each other's ministry is almost easy. Learning to embrace each other's way of ministry is a lesson.
Mm,
You know, my call was a burning bush. It was go into the places that are I might not be welcome. It is, you
yeah.
know, it is the vision. It is the end of the road. What are we getting to? Jeremy is definitely more of a slow flowing creek that just kind of says, okay, this is what we need to do now. And so this is what we're going to do now.
Okay.
And so in that way, it has clashed a little bit.
Okay.
But in the, you know, and that's just personality. That's all
Hmm.
that is. It's personality.
Yes.
It's not a diminishing of God's call. It's not the work of Satan. It just is, it's just who we are.
Mm,
And so learning to, first of all, undo my expectations, but learning to just be okay with that is something that honestly sometimes I still have to remind myself to do because
mhm,
I probably have enough ambition for, you know, my whole family, and sometimes that gets in the way of me. So
yeah,
I'm learning to undo that. That's just one of those life lessons that we do. But
yeah.
Jeremy, so he's the pastor of our church, and but he's a full time first responder,
Yes.
and so he's a first responder in the town that HelpNet Ministries is in.
Hmm.
And let me take a drink of
Yes. Go ahead.
apple cider, which is the ideal fall drink that anybody should be drinking.
Right.
Um, yeah, um, we're both in the town of Ashland, and like right now, he's been on duty since 11 o'clock last night, and he'll be
Oh
home
my.
midnight, and I'll go in for, you know, when we're done here, and
Yeah.
I'll be there for the day. But a lot of, and the majority, I think, of our ministry intersects there, and it intersects in community, and it intersects where real needs need to be met.
Mm,
And so it doesn't necessarily intersect theologically or pastorally, even. It doesn't intersect in the pews of the church, but it is where needs have to be met, and we hopefully have the way to meet those needs. And that's a really cool thing. It's cool when he can, you know, send somebody. HIPAA laws don't allow him to, you know, tell me about specific people that I can connect with, but if he tells
mhm.
them, they can connect with me.
Okay.
And so, you know, we've been able to develop this kind of under the surface effective, I think, ministry. And I really think that that's what compassion is. I think compassion is the is the current that lies just under the surface of the water, and it keeps everything else going. And it doesn't always come to the top. You don't always see compassion, and that's okay. Um, we don't, you know, we don't need accolades for that. It just people have needs and they need to be met, and so we hope that we are at the center of being able to do that. But a lot of our ministry intersects there,
Okay.
and that's really cool. That's a cool place to be. Yeah.
Does it bring you closer together when that happens?
Yeah, I would say that it does. You know, it's that connected purpose, and I think connected purpose brings people together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen the love between the two of you, and it is so beautiful, and you make it work. You make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah, we make it work. You know, everybody has a story, and you know,
Yes.
we have stories, and individual and together, and um but you know, at the end of the day, when you come together and you know that you've done a good thing, you hope that you've done a good thing, and you know, you've met a need.
Yep.
That's, you know, that I think that's the heart of where he and I exist mutually together, is just is a compassionate, whatever venue that might look like,
Yeah.
whatever way compassion takes place. um, I think that that's kind of at the heart of who we are, and we love it. We love
Okay.
community
Yeah.
life, community work, community ministry. We love being in our community. We just love community, and we know that if our world is going to be better, it's going to happen when our communities are healthy
Hmm.
and when our communities have the things that they need. So if if we can be a little part of that in our neck of the woods, then we're
Yeah.
good.
So let's talk about being an artist.
Oh, let's.
I didn't know this about you until just recently, and your work is beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell us how that came about, what you do, and everything else.
Yeah. So I'm a pyrography artist, which literally means writing with fire. Pyrography is writing with fire. So, back in the day, ancient days, that literally meant writing with fire, whether that was,
Mm.
ashes or a stick on fire or, eventually a metal post that you heated up like an iron and
Sorry to
you
interrupt you for just one moment, but you pronounce it a little differently than what we're used to hearing.
pyrography.
Pyrography. I was hearing a different word. Sorry. Yes,
Yeah, that's okay.
pyrography. I love it. Okay.
Pyrography. Yeah.
Pyrography. All right.
You can also say pyrography.
Pyrography. Okay.
There's debate in that world which way to say it, but I go with pyrography.
Okay.
Um,
Beautiful.
yeah. So so now it is electric. We have electric
Okay.
hot pens that we use. But yeah, so pyrography, if you can burn on something, paper, wood, gourds, uh, canvas, leather, you're doing pyrography. But I specifically do, what we've always called wood burning. So pyrography is the umbrella, wood burning is like a spoke in the umbrella.
Yes.
But so I've always been an artist. Being an artist was my oldest dream. Since I was, tiny, as long as I can remember, I wanted to be an artist. And that just wasn't the way that life took me. So, but it was always there. A few years ago, I was coming home from an appointment, and this little voice in my heart said, "Go pick up your kid's wood burning tool." And I did, and I
Yeah.
haven't put it down. And that's it. That
Oh,
is
wow.
just art has been healing for me. It has been it has been life giving to me. I feel very connected and very at home with a medium of fire and a canvas of wood.
Mm.
So I feel like it harkens me back to Maine in many ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is like every part of my world coming together on this piece of wood. And I just am so grateful um, that I have been able to do this and have a little bit of success with it. Yeah, it's been good. So I have this. This is my self portrait. That is number. What number is that? I just did 49. I think that's 48. So I
Okay.
started at 47, 48, and I just did 49.
Okay.
Um, but I
Yeah.
think every year I need to burn a portrait of myself because I think that's really
Good.
cool. So yeah, so this is my studio right here, and you're seeing the neat side of it. I feel like my studio is just a good, proper artist space where creativity abounds. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it has just been an incredible blessing
Mm.
to me to be able to do art, share it with the world, my part of the world anyway, um, and just let it speak to me and heal me.
Yeah. I have no doubt that when you're playing with fire, you have this relationship with it, it is a prayer, it is a meditation for you. I can
Mhm.
just I can feel the energy of it as you're describing it. Um, do you find that relationship mirroring with your breath and the breath, and there's a dance there.
Yeah, I would say so. It's very meditative. I just taught a class last week um, to a crew of artists, and one of them connected with me at a show that we opened on Friday, and said that was so peaceful and relaxing to
Mhm.
do. And I said, yeah, it is. So it's very meditative, and it's very calming, and it's mindful. And so I think when we can also be mindful, when we're mindful of life, we can be mindful of our inner spaces too. Um, yeah. It's
Absolutely.
a good connector in every way.
Yeah. What was the first thing you ever I don't know what's the expression, draw, created. I'll go with that word. It's a
Yeah,
neutral word.
created. It's the first thing that I ever did. I think that I found some like free images on Google and practiced on them.
Okay.
And then the first real piece that I ever sold for $90
Mm.
was a like a deer, like in a wilderness deer head kind of thing that somebody bought. Was that what was the very first thing? I don't know.
Oh, well.
I don't know. The
What
very
was it? Let me ask a different
yeah,
question then.
yeah.
What was it like when your very first artwork was sold? How did that someone recognizing your talents and your big gifts and go, oh, I want this in my home. What
Yeah,
was that like?
that is still astonishing to me.
Okay, yeah.
Um, that like, and I can feel the emotion even as I'm answering. That someone would want a part of what I offer
Right?
is just incredible to me. It's just incredible. So yeah, when I sold that first piece and some other little ornaments that I've made, I had a piece that was accepted into a show in Cooperstown, New York last year.
Okay, yes.
Um, and somebody bought that for hundreds of dollars. Um, and I've had a couple pieces at another art museum and some local galleries and stuff. And I think like I would do this regardless if anybody ever liked it or not,
Sure.
because
Yes.
it's here.
Yes.
But that somebody else acknowledges what I offer the world. My deepest dream is just it never stops feeling amazing to me.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Chrystal, your life and your ministry mirrors the words that I have been saying recently, and I'm just now starting to bring them out in public at the timing of this recording. But you are the living embodiment of letting people know that they are remembered, they are loved, and they belong.
That means so much. It
And
really
that's it.
at my heart. Um, that is what I want people to know when they are in my presence. And I've certainly failed more times than I haven't, but I want people to know that they have a place in the world.
Even in our failure, we're showing them that they have a place because we're not high. We're saying this is me, warts and all of that is holy.
You're right.
We
You're right.
have to stop being afraid well, I don't do it perfectly. Well, that's part of the process. It's part of the remembering. It's part of being what we're supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right.
So
That's perspective for me. Yeah.
you're doing it. You're doing it.
Thank you.
What's your biggest struggle, Chrystal?
My biggest struggle is probably what you just corrected me on.
Oh, not a correction. No, no, no.
You just reminded me of.
Just reminded. Yes.
Yeah, I letting go of preconceived. I grew up in the evangelical. This is my biggest struggle at the moment, the evangelical world, which I love. I think it's falling apart at the seams in a lot of places. And
I was almost going to ask you that, but I wasn't quite sure. But since you went there,
I
take
did.
us through there. Share your opinion. Sorry to interrupt you, but
It's okay.
just keep going.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
beautiful.
Um,
Because
I
you love the church that raised you. You love the evangelical world. There's still some truth there, but there's some things that are happening.
there are some things that are happening that I don't think are godly, and I don't think they're loving, and I don't think they're following in the ways of Jesus. And I think if we're going to be Jesus followers and we're going to claim that we're Jesus followers, um, there are some ways that we need to do a better job of being that to the world. And I think that we have gotten caught up in our own definitions of grace and tradition and opinions, and we've called that holy and biblical and Jesus, and I just don't think it is.
Condemnation is not holy.
It is not holy.
It is separateness.
Yep, yep. So I a few years ago, I really started to. I want to be careful how I say this because
Yes.
I love my tradition and I'm ordained in it and I'm glad that I am
Mhm.
because there's so much good in it. Um, but I think that we've gotten stuck in a rut somewhere, and I don't know where, and I don't know how to exactly to get out of that for the church to get out of that. But I think that we have failed in some places to love people well, and so I'm trying to redo that. I forget the original question I'm supposed to be answering.
No, it's what's your struggle, and so
Yeah,
I would say that the part of your struggle right now is remaining true to who you are, despite what's going on outside of you, despite
yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on in the community that raised you and that
yeah,
you love
yeah.
so much.
That's it. Yeah, remembering who I am, remembering what my call is. There are a lot of voices that tell me and you who we should be, and we only need to remember one voice. And sometimes that is harder than other times to do. So my struggle perhaps is twofold. Is perhaps seeking how to continue to do ministry when I'm struggling with what I see happening in a lot of the evangelical world. But it's also remembering who I am and what my place in that world is. And so, I think what I started to say is that I'm undoing all of these ideas that were so deeply planted in us as you know in the 80s and even the early 90s, not maybe
Yeah,
getting a little bit out of it, but my goodness, in the 80s, that just this is what church is and this is what it looks like and this is what you have to do. And it's following all of these black and white um this agenda that is black and white and almost immovable to a lot of people, when what I'm coming to understand is that God is not black white. He's not in that
yeah,
black and white understanding, but perhaps he's a little more nuanced, and maybe we can push the edges a little bit and experience God's love for what it is and not what I've created it to be.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So that's where I land. Like at the end of the day, that's the place that I'm. It's an internal and external struggle. Um, that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love it. As we come to a close here, will you join us in the breath?
Mm, yeah.
And I'm stirred to repeat what I said earlier because I'm sure a lot of the people that you minister to will be watching this, and I want and not just the people you minister to, but just the audience in general. I want to repeat: we are remembered, we are loved, we are not forgotten, we belong, we matter, all of it.
All of it.
And what I also find myself doing, and you did it a little bit ago without knowing what I'm about to say, but this is home.
Mm,
The center of my chest is home, and it keeps me grounded.
yeah.
Every time I'm in a stressful situation, or I don't know what's coming, or I feel like I'm losing control, I place my hand on my home and I remind myself that I am remembered and I'm loved.
Yep.
That makes all the difference.
It matters.
Because we've been told that God is way far away out there somewhere, and it's not true. Because, I mean, we use these words, ruha and pneuma, But do we know what they really mean? Are we really embodying them? And that means that my center, my home is right here. God is right here. I am a piece of him, just as you are a piece of God. And that DNA is living and breathing in my DNA. I am part of that. And that is a beautiful thing, and we've forgotten that.
We have separated God from humanity.
Yeah. And
And
so yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, and I think that we have missed out on the blessing of both when we dismiss um, God as being entirely absent from who we are.
Yeah. So as we go into the breath together, let's keep that in mind. And then I'll bring us back around. We are remembered, we are loved, and we belong. And as we open our eyes and come back together, may we bring this sacredness, this stillness with us in every moment of our lives. Chrystal, thank you. This has been such a treat.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thanks.
Yep.
Good to be with you.
You as well. Anything else you'd like to say before I close us out, or do you think we've said it all?
In the words of John Wesley, my heart is clear.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. This has been a Pneuma conversation. Thank you for sharing in the breath. Together, we've remembered a little more of what it means to be human. Until next time, breathe.